Good morning, 9:01. We have 25 degrees, sunshine, and wind. It's going to be very windy today, increasing cloudiness with a high of 41. There is a wind advisory in place today for Milwaukee and surrounding counties until 6 p.m. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Don't let today's high fool you. That wind advisory is going to cool things down, as we hear from TMJ4 meteorologist Brendan Johnson.
It is going to be windy. Wind gusts as high as 35 to 40 miles per hour as a couple of clipper systems pass up to our north. There's a slight chance we could catch a couple of light flurries in the afternoon.
Wind advisory in effect till 6 p.m. tonight. Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine, Ozaukee, Sheboygan, Walworth, and Waukesha counties. In the Los Angeles area, mudslides are the new worry. Southern California's first major rainfall in 10 months arrived over the weekend. The wet weather is expected to continue throughout the day. As a result, Los Angeles County Public Works preparing for possible mudslides in areas scorched by recent wildfires. Crisis averted as a deal is reached between Colombia and the U.S. was in a tense standoff over the weekend when that country's president refused a U.S. military deportation flight from landing. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
White House announcing the two sides have reached an agreement, vowing to hold off on those tariffs, but still imposing visa restrictions and halting visa services at the U.S. Embassy until those deportation flights land in Colombia. In a statement, the White House press secretary warning President Trump expects all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of their citizens illegally present in the United States.
ICE reports nearly 1,000 people were arrested in immigration raids yesterday. The Trump administration has launched a social media thread showcasing what it calls the worst criminals arrested by immigration and customs enforcement since the president's inauguration. The White House X thread reads that under President Trump's leadership, ICE agents are working tirelessly to protect our communities. Eggs have been costing us all more, and ABC's Eva Pilgrim says those higher prices are likely going to stick around.
The Department of Agriculture predicting that egg prices will go up 20% this year. The reason, a spike in bird flu cases right at the end of last year has now created a shortage of eggs. Experts are saying don't expect egg prices to come down anytime soon.
15% of waste generated in southeast Wisconsin comes from food. What is Milwaukee doing to change that?
At local food pantry Nourish MKE, 1/3 of their supply is food recovered from local grocers.
We have a team of rescue volunteer drivers who go out and do pickups at these locations and then drop them off at our food pantries.
Executive Director Valerie McMillan tells WTMJ a citywide pilot project is in the works called Feed MKE.
Helping people build up capacity in the food waste realm. Things like composting.
Coming soon, an announcement of mini grants to boost food recovery and composting efforts at more local organizations. Jessica Gatso, WTMJ News.
Oak Creek may be the future site of Wisconsin's first Buc-ee's gas station. Milwaukee Business Journal editor-in-chief Timothy Gibbons tells Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News how the Texas-based chain differs from other gas stations.
Part of it is just the size. I mean, if you think of what I'm old enough to think of as a truck stop, where you just have acres of land and a huge number of gas pumps and then stuff inside, Buc-ee's kind of takes that experience but makes it for your everyday driver, and then it elevates it.
The Oak Creek location expected to have more than 100 fueling pumps. Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The markets are sharply lower today. The Dow is down 104 points. NASDAQ is down 568 points. The S&P 500 is down 105. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:04.
Many times, patients have symptoms they didn't know were actually related to their airway breathing issues.
I was suffering from sinus issues, jaw issues, and neck pain. I guess I just kind of had my breaking point.
Unfortunately, this is typical. But until you get to the root of your problem, it's going to just persist. Fortunately, Jody took action, and the results were typical as well.
My quality of life is so different, but one of the first things that I noticed was my breathing. I don't ever remember being able to breathe like that.
Being able to breathe freely is life-changing, and the effects can go beyond that.
Sleeping better, having more energy, and it seemed as if all of those symptoms that I had just melted away.
And thank heavens for that, because at Advent, results are what drive us, helping you breathe well so you can live better.
Results may vary. Most insurance accepted. If you need a place for new home interior ideas, then you have to come talk to us. Our on-staff decorators know furniture, home decor, and a lot more. And they're not only creative, but also very willing to help you make great choices. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating taste come to find premium home decor at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee. Stop in often because our inventory changes daily.
Design Exchange.
Previously, it has been gently loved. But here, you'll only find very well-conditioned premium home decor items that you likely won't find elsewhere. Distinctive furniture, unique antiques, and original art, and other tasteful home decor at a value. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor on consignment at 25 to 40% off retail prices in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. Super Bowl matchup has been set. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles eye revenge against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in a Super Bowl 57 rematch. Hurts and star running back Saquon Barkley combined for an eye-popping 6 rushing touchdowns at a 55-23 blowout win over the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Mahomes commanded Kansas City to a 32-29 win over the Bills to earn the AFC title. Chiefs will go for an NFL record 3rd straight championship in New Orleans February 9th. Bucks continue their West Coast trip tonight. Team tips off against the Jazz from Salt Lake City. Number 19, Wisconsin blew out Nebraska 83-55 from Kohl Center. Badgers visit Maryland Wednesday night. Badger Sports Update sponsored by Siding Unlimited, siding and a whole lot more. Taking a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. No major problems out there. A couple of broken down vehicles. One's going to be on the exit to Blue Mound Road from I-94 East. Looks like we have another I-41 West at the ramp from Loomis Road. It is blocking the right shoulder. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Wind advisory until 6 this evening for Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha, Sheboygan, Ozaukee, Walworth, Washington, and Waukesha counties. Looking at wind gusts between 40 and 50 miles an hour. High today in Milwaukee, 41. Maybe a sprinkle or even a flurry tonight with an overnight low of 25. Mostly cloudy, breezy tomorrow. Light snow north, high 43. Partly cloudy, breezy Wednesday, 38 for the high. Mostly sunny on Thursday. Still will be windy with a high of 48. And then mostly cloudy on Friday with a high of 40. 23 in Madison, 26 in Green Bay, 24 in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:08.
Good morning, Wisconsin. So let's pour that coffee and talk to some experts about what's going on in Milwaukee, Madison, Washington, and beyond. Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. It's the Political Power Hour on WTMJ. Here's your host, Steve Scaffidi.
Should we talk about the government?
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I always look forward to these conversations. He's the political director at Channel 12 in Milwaukee. Matt Smith joins me in studio. Always good to see you.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
So much to talk about. I'm a big fan of your Upfront show. I did not see it this week, but you brought us some audio, and I had a chance to sample all of that this morning. And really big topics given what happened last week in Washington, D.C., which is the start of Donald Trump's second term as president. Let's start with the first one, and he is our senior senator in Wisconsin, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. You had an opportunity to sit down with him. Before we get to the first clip, what was the conversation like?
We talked a lot about literally just what happened in this past week, right? There was so much to talk about. First, when you look at immigration and the increased enforcement and the raids that are now happening across the country. Thoughts on that? The whole birthright citizenship, the executive order, the January 6th pardons, the nominees before the Senate, everything that happened in this past week, we tried to jam pack into a quick little conversation.
And we didn't have we have a clip, but we're not going to play this one. But I just want to touch on this before we get to the other stuff. He had talked during your interview apparently about some of these cabinet appointees and a process that might be utilized. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen, but he was pretty felt strongly about it.
He was. We spoke with him Friday morning about that, and he broke the news to us that privately he was going to push Republican senators to start using recess appointments to essentially jam Trump's nominees through to get him through and get him through much quicker. He was of the argument that Democrats are attempting to hold up this process, which likely in some cases, yes, they are. But the whole recess appointment is a whole other ball of wax, and it does not appear that Republican leaders in the Senate right now are on board, or there's enough in the conference right now to at least kind of go nuclear, so to speak, on these cabinet appointments.
Yeah, and to the center, I would say, well, I mean, some of the most controversial appointees have already gotten through, the Hegseths and some of the other ones, so I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. All right. Obviously, birthright citizenship is one of the big stories of last week. Let's play a short clip of U.S. Senator Ron Johnson on Upfront on Channel 12.
Again, I think from a standpoint of just international law, we're one of the very few nations that allow birthright citizenship. I know why we passed the 14th Amendment. I think it definitely applied in that circumstance, supported it then. I'm not sure the people passing the 14th Amendment would anticipate wide open borders and this flood of illegal immigrants coming uncontrolled in this country, somewhat incentivized by birthright citizenship. So times have changed. We'll see how this adjudicates in the court, but I think it's kind of crazy that this is the policy of the United States right now.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson on Upfront. All right, Matt, so he talked about this issue, which is on people's minds.
Yeah.
As much as we think people sort of pulled back from listening and talking about politics post-election, I think there's still a lot of interest in this piece of this. Now, he's factually wrong. There's dozens of countries that actually have birthright citizenship, so I'm not sure where that's coming from, including most of this part of the world. When he talks about this, and when the president talks about this, it's sort of this idea, I guess, that we want to sort of maybe take a pause. Is that what he's suggesting, a pause, or is this from going forward, should this be the policy in his terminology?
I mean, I think at this moment, going forward, is what he would appreciate. He's fully supportive of the executive order that Trump signed, but yet I think also fully aware of the courts and the fact that this is all going to be figured out in the courts, and that the judge immediately came out, the federal judge, last week and said, yeah, this is unconstitutional, so this isn't going to fly. So whether there's going to be workarounds in Congress or they're just going to cross their fingers when it gets up to the U.S. Supreme Court eventually, that's the million-dollar question at this point.
We spent a lot of time on our Friday show talking about this. It's a constitutional right. Like, you're here, you're born here.
Yep.
You don't know the story of your parents because you're an infant. So you have that right on U.S. soil to be a citizen. For a president, in this case Donald Trump, to actually try to alter the Constitution, which is a very formalized process, including ratification by, I think, 2/3 of the states, seems a little contrary to how we've done things. Now, did he talk to that piece of it, where does he think the president has the right to change the Constitution by executive order?
We didn't get that deep, but I think everyone is cognizant, and I think even the Trump team fully understood that someone was going to immediately sue, right? And they were hoping that this gets up to the U.S. Supreme Court, where they hope that the conservative justices, the majority on the U.S. Supreme Court, favor in Trump. I don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously, we don't know until it gets up there. But then you also have Wisconsin and 22 states suing in terms of where this is going to go in the courts. You have Democrats who are very hopeful that the court, despite being conservative majority, is actually just going to look blatantly at the Constitution and say, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, I mean, if there ever was a case for a unanimous decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, which is much more difficult now than maybe it used to be, for all the obvious reasons that all come back to politics, I think this one is sort of a no-brainer. If we're going to allow presidents to alter the Constitution by executive order, I'll caution my friends, and the texter just made the same point, careful what you ask for, because there's a Second Amendment, too, which a lot of people hold near and dear, including me.
Yeah.
And if you want maybe a liberal president comes in, because we know politics goes back and forth, different eras and decades. That's how this could really come back and haunt people who are saying right now, yes, sign me up.
And listen, the Trump team likely knows that the chances of this maybe are not great. And listen, it was throwing fire immediately in the first week, right? And sometimes this may, when it comes to politics, is more PR than policy, right? And saying, look, we tried. We tried to convey our campaign promises through executive orders. The court ruled differently. So at least there is that effort for Trump in terms of attempting what he promised on the campaign trail.
The other big issue, Matt Smith joining me from Channel 12 right here on the Monday edition of Political Power Hour. After the break, January 6th, pardons. You had a chance to ask the senator about that issue as well. More coming up after this on 620 WTMJ.
Football is like rock and roll. It's just and basketball is like jazz. You're kind of
Brent sends it left of the lane to Portis. Lillard sends it to the corner.
It's in the pocket.
Driving inside, hands it to Jackson. Catch and shoot three. Torian Prince rips the cords.
The Bucks head out to Utah to take on the Jazz. Our Bucks radio game day coverage starts tonight at 7:30. We are the home of the Bucks. WTMJ.
Why settle for just a job when you could have a career in the exciting automobile industry? The Auto Dealers Association of Metro Milwaukee new car dealer members have service, technician, sales, administrative, and management positions available now. The first word in career is car, and one of the best places to find a great career opportunity is at an Adam New Car Dealer.
For current great paying job opportunities, visit adam.jobs. That's ADAMM.jobs.
Hey Bucks fans, it's Justin Garcia from the Bucks Radio Network, here to tell you about the launch of the Bucks Central podcast feed. Everything Bucks, on demand, in one spot. From sideline to sideline, hear all the ankle-breaking, rim-rattling, and twine-tingling highlights, exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe to the Bucks Central podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. All the Bucks content your heart desires in one spot. Check out the Bucks Central podcast feed.
Do you believe the president went too far in pardoning all 1,500, including those who have been convicted or even pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers?
There was, grotesque miscarriage of justice throughout the Biden administration, certainly as it relates to people that participated in January 6th. A lot of that misjustice had to be rectified. I would have probably gone at it a little more cautiously, but in the end, I think President Trump said, well, let's just pardon them all. I don't have a real problem. I think the people who did commit violent acts, I'm not sure I would have pardoned them.
Interesting comments from senior senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, who was a guest on Upfront, the great program hosted by Matt Smith, who is in studio this morning. It's another one of those topics, like people get very passionate about this. Yeah. Now, it's interesting. He did say he would have handled it differently. Did he elaborate on that?
He did a little bit, just in terms of the most violent offenders and the ones convicted or even pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers. He would have gone about it in a different way, which is notable because we saw a lot of Republicans on the Hill, a good number, kind of distance themselves from what Trump did, which is not totally usual.
Well, Speaker Johnson said basically it's the president's decision to support it.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the pat answer.
Yes, to kind of go along, or, I haven't seen all the cases, or, kind of distance yourself from the decision. But it was notable. I think, yes, Senator Johnson said what he said was a miscarriage of justice under the Biden administration, but did acknowledge that he probably would not have pardoned all 1,500 plus that Trump did.
And I would remind the senior senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, that these people were convicted by a jury of their peers.
Yeah.
You can argue about, defining peers, where the case is, where it's reviewed. In these cases, it was Washington, D.C. But ultimately, they had their rights honored as citizens to hear the charges against them, to make a case against those charges, and ultimately they were convicted. And in many cases, including the leader of the Oath Keepers, I think Stuart Rhodes, who's now free and was on stage with the president in, I believe, Las Vegas over the weekend. I'm not asking you to comment on your idea about this, but just from a journalist perspective, it's sort of a weird dynamic. That's this individual who was charged many, many years in prison for what he did, sort of the ringleader of January 6th, is now a guest on the dais for a campaign rally.
Yeah, and it puts Republicans in an interesting position up on the Hill, right? Because Trump makes news, he does something or he says something, and then the natural inclination is to ask fellow Republicans on the Hill about that. And a lot of times they don't want to talk about it, right? Because it's something they may not necessarily agree with, or they would have done it differently. And we kind of have this back and forth, and they always know that what they say on camera, Trump is going to see, right?
Yeah, he watches a lot of TV, the president does. And apparently stays up very late, too, which is not the most common, especially given the bedtime of the previous occupant of the White House. What else did you guys talk about?
So we talked about just in terms of immigration and this new DOJ memo that was put out that essentially said, go after state and local officials. If they don't comply, investigate, prosecute them, get them out of the way. He didn't really give a direct answer on whether he would like to see Wisconsin officials prosecuted if for some reason they would stand in a way. And I know we're going to talk more about this in the second half hour with Attorney General Josh Kaul. But I think we're in an interesting spot, right? Because if the federal Justice Department actually does pursue that and deems, let's say you look at Chicago where raids happened over the weekend, and let's say they say the Chicago mayor, he's standing in the way, let's go after him. That's going to add a whole new layer to this debate and conversation that we're having.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson was a guest on Upfront, the program that Matt Smith, my guest for this hour on the Political Power Hour Monday edition. If you have a question or comment you'd like to fire at us, the Siding Unlimited WTMJ Talking Text line wide open at 855-616-1620. The texter makes this point. I'm curious what you think, that I'm misrepresenting the argument that he's not trying to change the Constitution. He's saying that the interpretation of birthright citizenship as written, and I read this on one of the shows I was on Friday across the three stations here, is being misinterpreted. It's an interesting comment.
Yeah, and perhaps that is the legal argument that could be pursued, right? That perhaps it is the best path in terms of supporters of this, is that the interpretation, and listen, right? Everything that goes to any type of court is all up to interpretation based on the judge or justices hearing it.
Any reporting from your station or reporting you've heard in Wisconsin that looks at a number associated with sort of this potential for people that are already citizens, is his grandfather? How does that work exactly?
My understanding is that if it were to take effect, it'd be from this point going forward. So anyone who was here prior and born under birthright citizenship is fine, so to speak, but it would be moving forward.
I raised this question on Spanning the State on Friday, my regular Friday appearance at 1:30. So, personal story. Yeah. I was born in the UK as a child of an American parent, my dad, who was serving the U.S. Air Force. Yeah. On an Air Force base. I'm a citizen of this country, United States, because of that. Is that something that's going to be reviewed? I mean, that's sort of a broader, because there's all kinds of sort of different little angles on the story that sort of changes the picture. And am I worried about it? No, I think I'm okay. And especially if they grandfather us, because I've been around since '58, so I feel like I'm good.
Yeah.
But all kinds of questions related to citizenship, Social Security, which, I mean, that's another piece of this as well. If you yank someone's Social Security rights, if they're already working, these are interesting times in this country.
And just general enforcement. If this were to become a reality, how do you even enforce something like this? Just like we're talking about immigration, right? Where is the money? Where are the resources? And what is that actually, like millions of questions surrounding all of it.
You and I were talking before the show started about, we see the banners that we have all the networks up on the monitors here, and the one thing they all have in common is lawsuit.
Yeah.
Trump challenged in court. We see this on whether it's the January 6th stuff now and some of the people that are out. We see it on birthright citizenship challenge now in a few places. States, 22 states signing on, as you mentioned earlier. This is sort of the new reality in this country. Is the president has been very bold, and especially if you're a supporter of the president, you go, wow, he's doing what he said he would do. I'm not arguing with that one. But this secondary response now, there will be lawyers and challenges. It's sort of a wild dynamic that's going to happen in this country over the next, I don't know how many years.
And it goes back to Trump's first term and the makeup of the courts and what he was able to accomplish, not only in the appeals court, but the U.S. Supreme Court. You look at our state Supreme Court and the race coming up in April. It all comes together in terms of people say the courts are important. This is why.
And to that point, a texter from the 414, I would argue that the Second Amendment has been misinterpreted. See, this is the fascinating part of this. I've talked to Supreme Court candidates and justices.
Yeah.
And they all say the Constitution is the Constitution. But we all know, that's why we have courts, that's why we have attorneys and justices, because it can be interpreted.
Yeah.
And even something as sacred, those very few words in the Second Amendment, could be interpreted differently by a different leaning courts.
Yeah.
Fascinating times. Matt Smith, we're going to wind it up to the bottom of the hour news with the amazing Connie Weber. I love praising Connie because she's so good at what she does. And then we're going to get to some of the interviews and audio from Attorney General Josh Kaul talking about some of the local challenges with the enforcement against illegals, undocumented, whatever term you want to use, in our states and what that all means. Matt Smith, outstanding political. I'm using outstanding a lot today. That means I must be in a good mood, and I am.
The sun's shining.
It is? Is it shining?
It is.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's supposed to be cloudy today. No?
Really?
I hope not, because I love the sun.
The sun was out when I drove in.
There you go. Matt Smith, political director, Channel 12. Quick break here on 620 WTMJ.
Time's ticking on Heiser's Drive into 2025 sales event. The clock is literally running out on remaining 2024 models. We're making room for new rides, which means huge savings just for you. Shop online or race in today and get a new vehicle for way less than expected. With low payments, special financing, and immediate delivery, you'll start 2025 in style without breaking the bank. But hurry, because once they're gone, they're gone. Visit Heiser.com now for all of the details and get ready to roll into the new year with a celebratory deal.
See dealer for complete details.
Hey, it's Brian Noonan. Hall of Fame inductee and guitar legend Peter Frampton is coming to the Pabst Theater April 15th, and we've got your tickets. Listen to Spanning the State every day this week for your chance to win every solo. Every song you know and love live in Milwaukee, and you can go. Tune in to Spanning the State all week for your chance to win. You feel like I do?
Oh boy, it's getting so expensive to dine out, but not at the Mine Chef restaurant in Hartford. WTMJ's John Mercure here. The Mine Chef is family-owned, understands inflation hurts. Every Monday when you buy one pizza, you get a second pizza absolutely free. Any size, any quantity. You buy one, get one free. Buy two, get two free. Buy 10 pizzas, get 10 free pizzas. Business owners, managers, bring in pizza for your hardworking employees and your key clients. They're going to love it because it's delicious pizza and your second pizza's free, saving your company a ton of money. Bring your family in today for free pizza. Your kids will love that world-class game room. The Mine Shaft in beautiful downtown Hartford and near EAA in Oshkosh, just off the interstate. Lots of seating, lots of close parking. No need to cook. Don't think about cleaning today. Mondays can be tough enough. Buy one pizza, get one free at the Mine Shaft. Plenty to take home for tomorrow. Desserts, and I love their desserts, are also buy one, get one free. Just walk in today for your free Monday pizza. MineshaftRestaurant.com.
No matter how many people are in your family, buying new jackets for the cold weather months can be expensive. But when you shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, prices on cold weather jackets will give you a sigh of relief because thrift store prices mean great deals. And right now we have a great selection. Find great deals on cold weather jackets for the family at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Always enjoying my time with Matt Smith, political director at Channel 12 in Milwaukee, host of Upfront, which is, I'll say it, the best political show on the air in Wisconsin. Because how many cities do you go to now? How many markets?
Yeah, all over the state, yeah.
Is there a part of the state, I'm just going to ask you this because I've never asked, is there a part of the state that doesn't show your show? And what is that part of the state?
The only part of the state is Duluth Superior, so way far west, northwestern corner
what's going
of the
on
state.
up there?
You know what? I've
Come
tried.
on, Superior.
I'm from the Duluth area. I've tried.
How is that hometown boy makes good?
I know. So anyone in that area, we'll get you on.
How long have you done up front?
Time just several years. Yeah.
Do you ever tally?
Time doesn't even exist anymore.
You ever tally up the number of interviews you've done?
No, I should do that.
Someone asked me this question, and I did like the back of the napkin.
Yeah.
Back of the hand, whatever it is. I've probably done like 4,000, 5,000 interviews.
It's great.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is.
And you do learn. I mean, my next question is, who have you talked to the most on your show?
Someone asked me that the other day, and that is a good question. I mean, obviously, our congressional delegation, I think, is on a fair amount just because we're talking, and leaders in the state assembly, and so in the moment, people in leadership get more airtime just because they're the ones making the news.
You're probably not going to answer this, but who says no to a Matt Smith, political director of Channel 12?
There's a lot of people who, we get a lot of people on. It may take some time, as you know. It takes time sometimes, and on their schedule.
You mean it just doesn't happen naturally,
No.
and they just show up at your studio and you just start talking to them?
Usually not, no.
Yeah. People don't understand that. So you don't want to say who says no?
No, I don't know if there has been any hard no's.
Really? You're batting 1,000.
I'll think, wow. I'll think on that for a second.
All right, we're going to spin it to Wisconsin after the break here because you also had AG Josh Call, Attorney General Josh Call, on talking about sort of the local impact of some of the efforts now by the Trump administration to go after illegals in our country, undocumented, if you use that term, and what that means from a lot of different perspectives. He is Matt Smith, political director of Channel 12. I am Steve Scaffidi, host of the Political Power Hour Monday through Friday, 9 to 10. Also host of Scaffidiology, which is my sort of everything other than politics podcast. Great one last Friday. Check it out on our website, WTMJ.com. Local news, but now the latest from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. Wall Street, Washington, and Silicon Valley all reacting to a new Chinese artificial intelligence model. ABC's Mike Dubusky explains why.
DeepSeek's R1 model reportedly outperforms equivalent American models, and it does so by using just a fraction of the computer processors needed by companies like OpenAI and Meta. DeepSeek has raised questions among investors over why U.S. tech companies need so many resources and spend so much money developing AI.
President Trump traveling to Florida today, where he'll speak to the House Republican leadership retreat this week. Confirmation hearings for some of his more controversial nominees, including Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, his pick for Director of National Intelligence. Researchers are in a new study published in a Canadian journal found that just 2.5 hours per week of moderate activity can have a major impact on overall health. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:31. I'm Connie Weber. A car into a tree early today, Milwaukee's southwest side, 22nd and Howard. 20-year-old driver went to the hospital with serious injuries. Police in Oconomowoc looking for a man they say pointed a gun at an employee of the Target Distribution Center on Valley Road early Sunday morning. Wanted is 26-year-old Keon Hawthorne. No shots fired. Nobody was hurt. West Elementary School in Jefferson closed today because of a water leak. Administrators say issues with the heating system have also forced today's closure. All other schools remain open as usual. Time for some news about your money. In the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update, markets are still down. Dow is off 45 points, 44,378. Some recovery there. NASDAQ is down 494 at 19,459. S&P 500 is down 91 points at 6,010. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Take a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. I-41 north at the ramp from I-94. Right shoulder there blocked due to a disabled vehicle. The ramp from I-94 east to 41 north closed because of some maintenance going on there. That's going to be closed until 2 this afternoon. And the ramp from 94 west to I-41 north, right shoulder there blocked due to a broken down vehicle. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Windy today. Wind advisory in effect until 6 for Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha, Sheboygan, Ozaukee, Walworth, Washington, and Waukesha counties. Looking for gusts between 40 and 50 miles an hour. High today, 41. Overnight low tonight, 25. Maybe an isolated sprinkle or even a snow flurry. Breezy, mostly cloudy tomorrow. Light snow north, a high 43. Partly cloudy and windy again Wednesday, high 38. Sunny and mild on Thursday, high 48. Mostly cloudy on Friday, 40 for the high. 23 in Madison, 26 in Green Bay, 24 in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:33.
Winning in the NFL comes down to the basics, blocking and tackling. In retirement, protection and income are the keys to success. Simply put, if you're nearing or in retirement, you can't afford a stock market crash. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons. Having played on winning teams with the Steelers and Falcons, studying game film was a key to success. Now I'm a best-selling author and star in a new groundbreaking documentary film called The Retirement Deception. It unveils how the Wall Street machine has been deceiving us for decades and proves you don't need to risk your nest egg in the market to have the retirement you deserve. This film shows you exactly how to protect your retirement from stock market drops and produce more income than you thought possible. I want you to watch this film for free. Call today for your free copy of The Retirement Deception. I think you would agree 30 to 40 years of saving for retirement is at least worth a phone call to watch this film and see how you can improve your retirement. Call today to speak with an all-pro retirement specialist to get your free copy of The Retirement Deception. Call 844-763-2837. That's 844-763-2837. MitchLyonsWealth.com. Your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Visit family-owned Ken Michaels Furniture and our in-store design centers where you'll still find beautiful, luxurious, heirloom-quality American-made furniture. Right now, save 30 to 35% store-wide and take advantage of our complimentary design services. Whether you're moving, renovating, or updating, our designers will help your vision become a reality. Visit Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield on Capitol Drive and in Greenfield on Highway 100 to save 30 to 35% store-wide today. Sleep better and save more with mattresses from Milwaukee Mattress and Ken Michaels Furniture. Handcrafted in our Milwaukee factory, our mattresses utilize natural materials like cotton cushioning, which dissipates body heat, Joma wool quilts for warm wintry nights and cool summer evenings, and natural latex providing superior conformability and pressure relief for aching joints. Stop in today at any Ken Michaels Furniture store and save up to 50% compared to national brands.
Have any Republicans indicated to you what they plan to introduce?
No, they haven't. I've seen the speaker's comments in the press, but we haven't seen any potential bill drafts, and that's unfortunate because if you want to have effective law enforcement efforts, having collaboration and having an opportunity to think through bills and make sure they're effective is a good thing. What I think we're seeing instead is an effort to play politics with this issue, and that's concerning, particularly when we have police chiefs and sheriffs around the state of Wisconsin who make judgments every day about how to use their resources most effectively. That's who I want to see making decisions about law enforcement resources, not Robin Vos and not the legislature.
It's an interesting challenge from Attorney General Josh Kaul to the Trump administration. We know that this is on everyone's radar now because we are starting to hear reports from Chicago, big cities, but eventually it gets out of the big cities and starts to touch small communities. And Josh Kaul, Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, raises some interesting points. And I've looked at it, and Matt Smith is my guest for the hour if you haven't guessed already. That was your colleague, Jaron Jordan, who shares time with you on. Do you do the interviews together or separately?
Yep.
I think I've seen both.
Yeah, it's a mix. Yeah, we changed it up. Yeah, so we were asking Kaul about Speaker Vos told me last week that they're going to introduce a bill this week, Republicans in the state legislature, related to deportations and ICE, essentially saying he hasn't given the exact language, but he summed it up saying that we're going to issue legislation that would require people to follow the law and follow the directives with ICE. Just a broad overview, and we're asking the Attorney General his reaction to that.
Yeah, and I'm going to reach out to Speaker Vos because I have him on the show occasionally. And one of the things that I've noted, this is sort of deviating it slightly. We'll get back to this because we have another clip to play from AG Josh Kaul. We seem to be in this period of legislative action that sort of reinforces what the law is already. So they're like putting a declarative exclamation point on what is already the law.
Yeah, and I asked him last week, I said, wait, are you working on Trump with this or the administration? He said, well, you'll have to wait until we introduce it to see. So it's this top-down approach, right, to introduce something that is law, but just to potentially appease the administration, right?
And I've talked to some chiefs, not a lot yet, and this is going to be an ongoing story as it sort of bleeds out of the city, and I use that word on purpose. I think that we are going to see some who say enthusiastically, we're all on board, but we're also going to see from some maybe larger communities, maybe Racine, Madison.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. We're still going to follow the due process. I'm not saying the Trump administration is not going to do that. And to the texter who keeps texting, couple, why don't you tell it like it is? They're deporting illegal criminals. I think for the most part, and again, this is a broad generalization, most Americans would support this administration, whether you voted for them or not, to remove gang members who are here illegally. That's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and we're going to hear Josh Kaul say that in our upcoming clip.
Yeah, I think that's the one that most people go, yeah, that makes sense. Where it gets tricky is, and this is sort of the economic impact, and I don't know if you had a chance to explore that with the AG. Yeah. It's not really his area.
Right.
But it will have, depending on how far this goes, how extensive these raids are, and who is removed, it can have dire impact for many sectors of our economy in Wisconsin.
Yeah, including the dairy industry, which Senator Johnson acknowledged when we chatted with him as well.
So you wonder if that's sort of the next phase of this story. I'll say third phase. The big stories, big cities, getting out to the smaller communities, and then maybe lastly, maybe time has to go before we start thinking about the economic impact of these removals, essentially. And then the other piece, maybe this is phase 4, where are these people going to be stored, processed? How does that happen? Does it tie up our courts? All of these questions, how much does it cost? Another question. I've sort of filled the whole show with a future show with all the things I could ask about this. But I think that's sort of the extra stories in this main story of removing people who are in this country illegally. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Matt Smith, Political Director, Channel 12. We're going to take a break here. After the break, more of Attorney General Josh Kaul on this story. If you have a question or comment, keep them coming. 855-616-1620. The Siding Unlimited, WTMJ. Talking text line.
Football is like rock and roll. It's just and basketball is like jazz. You know, you're kind of.
Brent sends it left of the lane to Portis. Lillard sends it to the corner.
It's in the pocket. It's like
driving inside, hands it to Jackson. Catch and shoot shoots three. Torian Prince rips the cords.
The Bucks head out to Utah to take on the Jazz. Our Bucks radio game day coverage starts tonight at 7:30. We are the home of the Bucks. WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I love talking about Advent. So many people have come up to me in different places, restaurants, and walking around a grocery store, asking about Advent. It is an amazing way to change your life, not just your waking life, but your sleep life. And it actually impacts both. Sleeping, what's the common problems, right? Tossing and turning, snoring, keeping your bed partner up all night, and just not getting refreshed like you should be after a good 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And then when you wake up, if you're feeling like that, you're not going to be the most productive person or efficient person in your day hours. This is a way to sort of look at that and say, you know what? I'm going to talk to Advent. 30-minute visit. Ask any question you want. Mine, they put me at ease. They answered all my questions. We did a really simple sleep study at home in my own bed. For me, it was sinuses and nasal passages. To find out how breathing well can make your nights better and sleeping well as well, go to adventknows.com, schedule an appointment today, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
A buck doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee, Waukesha, Fort Atkinson, and Jefferson. Griffin. The buck stops here. The deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers.
I'm attorney David Gruber. We've helped injured Wisconsinites for more than 30 years. Trust our hometown team to get you back in the game. Gruber Law Offices, proud partner of your Milwaukee Bucks. One call, that's all.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for Tri-County Contracting. You want to know the price of a new roof on your home today? Well, it's easy. Just go to TriCountyContractingWI.com, click on the Instant Roof Quote button, put in your address and email, click the Show My Roof Price, and there you go. Zero wait time. There's your quote. You shop online for everything else. Who says you can't shop online for a new roof? TriCountyContractingWI.com. It's worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. TriCountyContractingWI.com.
Hey, business owners, are you looking to sell your business? I'm sure you have plenty of questions. WTMJ's John Mercure here. Join me for our latest Annex Wealth Management webinar. I'll be joined by Brandon Lehman and Brian Lamborn from Annex Wealth Management as we answer your questions. Who should you consult? And of course, when is the best time for you to sell your business? Sign up for this free webinar on Wednesday, January 29th. Text WEB to 855-616-1620 to sign up for the free webinar. Only here on WTMJ.
Certainly, if there's somebody who has committed some horrific violent crime and there's an effort to deport them, nobody wants to see those folks remain in the country. But at the same time, I don't want to see some of the extreme stuff we've seen from the Trump administration, like potentially having immigration raids at churches or at schools against people who themselves may have committed no crime other than being here undocumented.
If we were to see something at one of those facilities in the state, what would you do?
It's going to depend on the circumstances.
That is the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, Josh Call, Matt Smith, joining me in studio. That was, first of all, a great follow-up question. I mean, that's the question, that right? Is. What's going to happen if that happens?
And look, I think we're at a moment where we kind of wanted to get everyone on record just in terms of we're seeing now what happened over the weekend in Chicago. And our local officials, is the state DOG, the Attorney General, who's a Democrat, are you going to attempt to put up roadblocks for the federal administration, and what would that look like?
This is where it gets dicey because you can certainly, and this is not unique to this story or this effort, the politicization of these things, right? So, and the Attorney General interjected that because he went after the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. I know there was a report from Chicago that a school was gone into. I don't know that turned out to be right.
No, it was Secret Service.
Secret Service,
and
yes.
Chicago Public Schools came out and held a news conference and said it was ICE. It turned out not to be ICE. That seemed a little bit of a mess in communication at the very least.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I caution Attorney General and others to make sure that we're actually talking about what this is,
right,
and not confuse other things or miscommunications and sort of go after those.
Or throw gasoline onto the fire in what is already an incredibly tense conversation.
From a journalist perspective, are you aware of any efforts in Wisconsin currently related to this effort.
No, as of now, no massive increased enforcement beyond what is typical with ICE, and this is routine. ICE does this. ICE did this before. ICE will continue to do this. But everyone from Senator Johnson to the Attorney General to officials, across the state, no one is aware yet. Like we saw Tom Homan in Chicago, right? They took a picture. The Trump administration is making this very public. They want to make this very public in terms of what they're doing. So I think for local officials, whether it be local sheriffs or police or the attorney general or the governor, it's a wait and see in terms of what a scenario may look like beyond typical enforcement.
Right. To your public comment, I did note and saw, I think, a video this morning, or at least a picture of a video. Dr. Phil, I think his last name is McGraw, is actually at some of these things.
He was embedded over the weekend, it looks like, in Chicago with agents.
I'm not aware of, does he have an official designation within the Trump administration?
No, I think just for his, I think his show is still on. I think he's launched his own media company now.
Okay.
So I think,
but it seems like a weird cooperation or link.
Yeah, and he was praising the effort. So I think it's a supporter
I'm not passing judgment on that.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I've talked to a lot of chiefs and sheriffs over my time and doing this and beyond. There's always elements of risk to this stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And they can be dangerous situations. It seems like interjecting a TV celebrity into something like this seems sort of nefarious to me. I don't get it.
During my career, I mean, we've gone on undercover, whether not immigration related, but undercover operations or raids with police and local police, and it is a very dicey situation sometimes, right, to be embedded when something does go down.
You had extensive conversations with U.S. Senator Ron Johnson and Attorney General Josh Kaul. What else did Attorney General Josh Kaul talk about in your conversation?
Listen, I mean, he's taking this middle-of-the-road approach in some essence, where you heard him say, listen, no one wants criminals, if they are here illegally, to remain here, right? Everyone can get behind that. Where he stood up to the Trump administration a little bit was, this threat of being prosecuted by the federal DOJ. He goes, these are intimidation tactics.
Well, especially when you're talking about prosecuting law enforcement because they're not doing what the administration wants.
And he acknowledged, he goes, listen, federal authorities have incredible oversight in terms of immigration enforcement. This is their deal. But there are also state laws and things that we can do if we see something that we don't think is up to par, we're going to step in from a Democratic perspective.
Did Senator Johnson or Attorney General Josh Kaul talk about the resources, the dollars needed to sort of do these things?
Yeah, we didn't talk with Senator Johnson about this, but we've talked with him in the past. This is projected to cost billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. If Congress will need to fund this, right? If this is going to go to the level that Trump has promised and Trump wants it to go, it's going to require buy-in from Congress, just for the simple fact of resources and the allocation of all of that.
Billions and billions of dollars. Not that the government can't afford it, but it's going to be an interesting time, because one thing that the Trump administration has promised is sort of look at how we spend our money. Now, a lot of texters, and I give you credit, because I was very forceful on this last Monday when I did the show by myself. I think this is a win for the president, potentially, if he takes criminals out of the mix. Once you get a little more diffused and away from that, then it gets a little dicey, and people will question that. All right, we're going to take an early break here. Final segment, we'll find out what Political Director Matt Smith, Channel 12, is going to be looking at this week. Maybe perhaps you're going to talk to this week. We'll get to all of that and more. Political Power Hour, 620 WTMJ.
When we're out in your town, come say hi to us as we broadcast live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
Anytime you hear us when we're out on the road, you can find us live from our brand new mobile studio.
Whether it be Summerfest, EAA, Opening Day, Air and Water Show,
wherever we may be, you can see us on the radio, live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
WTMJ.
Hey, John Mercure here for Guthrie and Fry Water Conditioning. My reverse osmosis system in my house is fantastic. The water I drink, the water we feed the dogs, the water we cook with is crisp, clean, and clear thanks to Guthrie and Fry's RO system. It's the best in the business. It's affordable, it's effective, and you'll feel a lot better. It's all about the science. They know at Guthrie and Fry that better water makes a big difference. Southeast Wisconsin's #1 choice and my choice is Guthrie and Fry Water Conditioning.
Better water makes a big difference. Guthrie and Fry.
William Golding's classic novel, The Lord of the Flies, is a disturbing tale about a group of boys
who cast off the thin veneer of civilization and descend into savagery on a tropical island. But did you know that a real-life incident almost took place in southeast Oklahoma more than 70 years ago? Dr. Michael Ziegler tells the story of the Robbers Cave experiment this week on the Lutheran Hour.
The Lutheran Hour, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WTMJ.
Imagine all the things you dream of under one roof. You're thinking of eBay. Fashion, collectibles, car parts. It's all there. Go find the thing that keeps you up at night. eBay. Things people love.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
SemperFiRoofing.com.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Elizabeth and John bought their starter home 8 years ago, BC, as in before children. Now, with 2 elementary school-age kids, they wanted to make a move to the suburbs for a bigger home with more yard. But they didn't know if or how they could buy their next home without selling their current one. Fortunately, a friend who was a multi-time AccuNet client connected them with us, and we soon determined they could, in fact, afford to buy without selling first, which was a big relief to them and their real estate agent. Armed with an AccuNet rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval, it still took several weeks to find the right home for the next chapter in their life. But I'm happy to report that Elizabeth, John, and their boys opened their presents on Christmas morning in their new home after closing just a few days before. Whether you're buying your first home or your next home, go with the pros who have all the tools and know-how to make your home buying experience as smooth and successful as humanly possible. Get started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval by clicking on the blue button at AccuNet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
He's going to fire up a three for the win, and he hit it! Game time has arrived! He has done it again! Cash Money Middleton to the rescue! Lobs to Giannis, who flushes it in. Lillard, three-pointer for the lead! It's game time! Giannis takes it down the lane. He'll lay it in with another foul. Oh, baby! The Greek freak is unleashed.
The sound of the Bucks is here on the home of the Bucks, 620 WTMJ. WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Fly me to the moon. Let me
I don't know if that's a message from producer Jazz or just a good Frank Sinatra song. I always love to hear from Old Blue Eyes. Matt Smith, political director of Channel 12. He does a fantastic job on the Upfront program. If you've never watched the program, where can folks find it? Because it is the best political conversation in the state. How do they find it?
Yeah, right. If you want to just watch it online, you can go to WISN.com/upfront, and all the full episodes are right there.
And he's got all the newsmakers. We talked about AG Josh Call was on this week. You sent Ron Johnson. Was there another guest?
Yeah, we had a criminal defense attorney who defended some January 6th defendants from Wisconsin.
Yeah, so just great content every week. All right. I always ask you at the end of the program, what's your look ahead? What are you thinking about focusing on as in your role?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think it'll be curious to see what Republicans here in the state introduce in terms of this deportation legislation that they've hinted at, that they've said they're going to introduce this week. It'll be curious to see what happens there. Also in the state capitol, you're starting to see the budget discussions, right, really start to heat up. The governor is going to give his official budget address next week, coming off the state of the state. So how those conversations start to form and what people are saying publicly is always fascinating. And then just week 2 of the Trump administration, right? If it was rapid fire like week 1, Friday's going to look a whole lot different than it does as we sit here today.
It's interesting you said that because someone asked me about that. I think it was on Friday, one of the shows I was on. Is it going to slow down? I said, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know what the number is, and maybe someone said it was 200 something orders now, and I'm lumping all the 1,500 together because I think that's how it was written. I could be wrong.
And listen, they came in prepared, ready to launch.
No question.
Right?
My contributor on Friday, Bill McCosher, said to expect shock and awe. And I think for the most part we have that.
Yes,
it's not surprising.
Yeah, and they know the midterms are fast approaching, right? And they know if history is any judge, that they may lose one of the chambers, they may not have full Republican control. So what they want to get done is going to get accomplished in this first 2 years, first year and a half.
I should probably know the answer to this, but have you had Speaker Mike Johnson on the program?
No, we haven't. That would be fun to get on at some point.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much media availability he has outside of what he does in the halls of Congress, but he's a fascinating individual.
Yes.
His story is really unique, and I'll encourage people to just go find it because I don't have the time to talk about it. But he is someone who has certainly had the back of the former and now current occupant of the Oval Office in White House, Donald Trump.
Yeah, and he was here in Wisconsin campaigning to ensure the House remained Republican. Yeah, so he was here during campaign season last year.
And my closest contact with the speaker was when we were doing the RNC in Milwaukee, and we had a booth in sort of Radio Row. He walked by me, and we tried to get his attention, but I've seen a lot of the, like the Trump sons were there. He had more people around him than maybe candidate Trump had.
Yeah.
It was insane.
A lot of security.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were security or just people.
Just his people.
I
Yeah.
suppose speaker.
Staffers.
What are you, third in line? Third in line for the.
Yeah, you're important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'll. No, this is a. I can't ask. I was going to ask you an opinion question, but I don't want you to do that.
Thank you.
Looking ahead.
Yeah.
For a Wisconsin perspective on all of the issues we talked about today, and maybe the economy.
Yeah.
When I look at local news, and I'm not a big fan of local news other than the specialty shows like yours. To me, and I mentioned this earlier, the economic impact of all this stuff, you and I were talking during the break, the price of eggs, the fact that you can't even find eggs in some stores, that seems like that could be a big story.
Yeah, I think it's going to be curious to see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks, right? Yeah. And if it is, the economy was huge in the presidential election, right? And rightfully so. How much this now translates and fingers start pointing to a new administration or a new Congress or
when does the finger start going back?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question, right? And who's going to start that finger pointing? Everything is political these days. Eggs are political, right? Like,
Right.
I mean.
And I mentioned
so
to you.
who knows?
I have friends who own restaurants.
Yeah.
And they serve breakfast.
Yeah.
Are they going to absorb those costs, or is that going to get passed on? And nothing will irritate a senior, and since I am a senior, I can say this, more than your cost of breakfast being like $2, $3, $4 more because those, in my case, 2 eggs over easy, are super expensive. Nothing will irritate the base and the country quicker than that reality.
Yeah. And our collective memories are short. So if this is a little blip, everyone will move on. If it's not, it'll become a thing. Who knows?
Matt Smith, political director, Channel 12. I always love talking to you.
Yeah, enjoy your week.
Yeah, have a great week yourself. We'll do it again down the road. If you miss any or all of our conversation, it'll be up on the podcast page, WTMJ.com. Don't forget to check out my 2 podcasts. Scaffidi, got a great one last Friday about a kidney donor and a recipient who live next door to each other. Fantastic, incredible story. You can hear about their journey. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts or WTMJ.com. And with Chris and Bry and I from Spanning the State, our second You Need to Listen podcast, we're recording it tomorrow. Should you quit social media is how we're going to start it. Fascinating topic. We're going to have fun as we always do. You can find that, of course, wherever you get your podcasts or at WTMJ.com. News is next, 620 WTMJ.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. So I was looking at some of the bushes that have overgrown on my property, and I love our yard, but I need dormant pruning. That's what takes place during the winter when it's safe to cut back things so you have healthier trees and bushes around your house. Check right now to see if you've got stuff scraping against the siding or needs to be cut back, and schedule it now. Design-build landscaping projects are a year-round topic. Landworks Wisconsin does it the right way every time. They help people achieve their outdoor dreams by creating beautiful landscapes. I love these guys. LandworksWisconsin.com. Check them out today.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here, asking you to join me in October as my wife and I explore the magical kingdoms of Southeast Asia, from the villages of Vietnam and the temples of Cambodia to the friendly locals of Laos and the beachside resort in stunning, lively Thailand. I hope you'll join us for this unforgettable journey. Ancient and mysterious worlds of rural landscapes, bustling cities, and fascinating history in Vietnam. Explore the Chu Chi tunnels used by the Viet Cong. Experience a street food adventure through Hanoi and cherish the serenity of Hai Long Bay on a beautiful boat ride. Bangkok in Thailand, the beaches in Thailand, history, tradition, food. If you'd like more information on this great trip, send me an email. john.mercure@WTMJ.com. john.mercure@WTMJ.com. It's Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. I'm super jazzed about this trip. Send me an email. I send you the info. john.mercure, MERCURE, @WTMJ.com.
If you're living with joint pain in your shoulders, hips, elbows, and knees, and you have Medicare or Medicaid insurance, coming to Rejuvenex to solve your pain problems is something you should strongly consider. First off, because our FDA-approved pain treatments have been shown in many cases to be highly effective at reducing inflammation and substantially alleviating pain. Secondly, Medicare and Medicaid cover Rejuvenex treatments, so your cost could be nothing, or next to nothing at all. Chronic pain will only worsen with age. This leads to a far more compromised lifestyle, depression, and soon they start talking surgery. And then what? You have to get in front of arthritis and chronic pain, because the sooner you do, by letting us begin to calm those pain points, the better. I'm Rejuvenex founder Richard Salinas, and we can alleviate your pain so you can rejuvenate your life.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your free pain evaluation.
Who doesn't need a seasonal wardrobe update? But who has the cash to always keep their wardrobe updated? Ladies, that's why you shop St. Vincent de Paul. Our women's clothing is always a highlight of our stores, and thrift store prices keep the costs low. It allows you to experiment and also find a hidden gem. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
The Bucks continue their West Coast trip with a Salt Lake assault against the Jazz.
Lots of time. Giannis slams it home. Oh, a rim-rocking alley-oop Dame to Giannis, and the rim's going to feel that one tomorrow.
With coverage starting tonight at 7:30. We are your home for the Milwaukee Bucks. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
10:01, we have 29 degrees. It's going to be windy today. A wind advisory in place for Milwaukee and surrounding counties till 6 p.m. High today 41. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Bad crash in Beaver Dam killed one person, hurt 6 others, some of them children. Happened around 4:30 yesterday afternoon near County Roads A and B in Dodge County. A pickup blew a stop sign and was hit in the intersection. A man in that truck, a 30-year-old from Tennessee, was thrown, died at the scene. The 32-year-old driver, also from Tennessee, was badly hurt, booked for OWI, and the other vehicle, the driver, passenger, and 3 kids were taken to area hospitals. Tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians now heading back to what's left of northern Gaza after concerns the Israel-Hamas ceasefire could fall apart over the release of a female Israeli hostage. Israel now says that hostage and 2 other captives won't be released till Thursday. More from ABC's Britt Clinette.
President Trump is resuming shipments of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel, deliveries that former President Biden partially withheld due to concerns they would be used on densely populated areas. Aboard Air Force One, President Trump saying Palestinians should leave Gaza for other countries.
I'd like Egypt to take people, and I'd like Jordan to take people. You're talking about probably 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing.
Both countries and Hamas rejecting the president's proposal, with critics pointing to his words as support for ethnic cleansing.
Immigration raids taking place around the country. The Trump administration has launched a social media thread showcasing what it calls the worst criminals arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement in the U.S. since the president's inauguration. ICE reported more than 950 people were arrested nationwide yesterday alone. Heart disease still the #1 killer in the U.S. The American Heart Association annual update finds risk factors like obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes are still rising. Smoking rates and cholesterol levels are going down. Here's ABC Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Tara Narula.
80% of cardiovascular disease is preventable. We always tell our patients that by modifying some of these risk factors. So heart-healthy diets, we think about the DASH diet, the Mediterranean diet, plant-based or vegetarian-type diets. Exercise, about 150 minutes of moderate cardio every week or 75 minutes of vigorous cardio. Sleep 7 to 9 hours. Knowing your numbers. You should know your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your body mass index. And then finally screening.
The report says if this trend continues, it's estimated U.S. health costs will rise 300% by the year 2050. Blood shortages during this National Blood Donation Month. About 3% of the eligible population donates blood. Only 1 in 5 donations come from communities of color. Dr. Arun Shet at the National Heart, Lungs, and Blood Institute tells Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News why diversity in donors matters.
The racial background of the donor does not have to match. However, scientific studies have found that some people require blood from donors with the same racial or ethnic background to reduce the risk of complications.
A single unit of blood can save 3 lives. Time for news about your money. In the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update, stocks are tanking on